And Trump's more ahead than he's ever been. Fewer people think January 6th was any kind of what it was, as an assault on the temple of democracy, the Constitution. I don't know what you want to say. It's going the wrong way. It's not working. Everything that we're throwing is spaghetti at a wall, and none of it is sticking, me included. And it's hard when you start in your 80th year, and you know, like anybody else, I have an opinion of myself, and the opinion I've come to is I don't matter. It doesn't matter. You can prepare, you can be on TV, or you can write pieces, you can have a YouTube channel, you can have a podcast, and nothing. And, you know, we got to try to think of something different, because what we're doing is really, really not working.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got another round of liberal tears, boys. I am on my third day of binge drinking off of these liberal tears from these Democrats, as you guys just saw, right? As you guys just saw. James Carville, who is a Democrat Party strategist, is still melting down, okay? They're having a full-blown panic, okay? This guy has essentially admitted defeat to Trump, right? He's admitted defeat, saying that nothing is working. Nothing is working against Trump, right? Everything that they threw at Trump, January 6th, threat to democracy, Roe v. Wade, all that stuff, again, you know, if you believe the polls, it is not working, okay? And even worse, the Democrat coalition is falling apart due to this conflict between Israel and Hamas, okay? And what are Democrats doing in order to try to rectify the situation, to try to get their progressive, woke, communist voter base to show up for Biden? Well, Biden has come out and said, hey, we're not going to give weapons to Israel to go into Rafah and to try to finish off their war with Hamas. Now, he's not framing this from the perspective of, well, we're doing this because it's in America's best interest. No, he's actually just doing it because he feels like it's going to save him in the election, okay? Biden is doing this for his own selfish reasons because the writing is on the wall when it comes to the fact that, again, his progressive voter base, they're probably not going to vote for him as long as his conflict continues.
I want to ask you about something happening as we sit here and speak, and that, of course, is Israel is striking Rafah. I know that you have paused, Mr. President, shipments of 2,000-pound U.S. bombs to Israel due to concern that they could be used in any offensive on Rafah. Have those bombs, those powerful 2,000-pound bombs, been used to kill civilians in Gaza?
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
So, just to understand what they're doing right now in Rafah, is that not going into Rafah as you define it yet?
They haven't gone into the population centers. What they did is right on the border, and it's causing problems with right now in terms of with Egypt, which I've worked very hard to make sure we have a relationship and help. But I've made it clear to Bibi and the War Cabinet, they're not going to get our support if, in fact, they go in these population centers.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Again, don't get it twisted. Biden is doing this for his own selfish reasons, okay, to try to take his campaign off of life support, okay? And I think, honestly, this is a virtue signal to the far left. I don't necessarily think that Biden is going to uphold his promise, right? I think that ultimately he will end up folding, but regardless of whether or not he folds, Netanyahu has come out here and said, hey, well, even if you don't give us the weapons, we're still going to go into Rafah anyways and finish off this war with Hamas.
80 years ago, in the Holocaust, the Jewish people were totally defenseless against those who sought our destruction. No nation came to our aid. Today, we again confront enemies bent on our destruction. I say to the leaders of the world, no amount of pressure, no decision by any international forum will stop Israel from defending itself. As the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, I pledge here today from Jerusalem on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, if Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said today.
If we need to stand alone, we will stand alone. I've said that if necessary, we will fight with our fingernails. But we have much more than fingernails, and with that same strength of spirit, with God's help, together, we will win.
And one of the reasons why I believe that Biden's going to fall is because you have Democrat politicians like Hillary Clinton coming out here and basically continuing to attack the far left of their base, again, in the Democrat Civil War. Basically accusing them of being ignorant on history for not supporting Biden in his positions when it comes to what is happening between Israel and Hamas. Take a look.
I have had many conversations, as you have had, with a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right, they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly about history in many areas of the world, including in our own country. But with respect to the Middle East, they don't know that under the bringing together of the Israelis and the Palestinians by my husband, the then Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, the then head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, then the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat. An offer was made to the Palestinians for a state on 96% of the existing territory occupied by the Palestinians, with 4% of Israel to be given to reach 100% of the amount of territory that was hoped for. And this offer was made, and if Yasser Arafat had accepted it, there would have been a Palestinian state now for about 24 years.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Again, full-blown civil war between the Democrats, the establishment, and the far left, okay? It is like a train wreck that you can't look away from, right? I know I can't look away from it, right? I'm actually enjoying it. I'm loving it because they deserve this, okay? They deserve everything that's happening to them right now as a party, because these are the same people that supported this type of extremism when the BLM rioters, the Roe v. Wade rioters, the Antifa rioters were destroying this country. They were cheering it on, okay? Democrats were pretending like these people are freedom fighters, right? And they're on the right side of history. And now all of a sudden, fast forward to 2024, the far leftists are protesting against Democrats and their policies. Now all of a sudden they don't know history at all, right? No, it wasn't when they were sitting around talking about how the founders are evil, okay, and pushing conspiracy theories about the founding of the country being about slavery, right? They said that the American Revolution was fought to protect slavery, right? This is the type of nonsense that was pushed on the left that was accepted in woke academia, right? Accepted among Democrats, right? They weren't out here talking about how these people are ignorant, which they are, right? Now all of a sudden they're ignorant when it comes to this conflict. Again, it's just amazing how that works, because Democrats are not acting in the best interest of the United States of America. No, they're actually acting in the best interest of themselves, right? They're simply just looking out for themselves and the agenda that they want to push, right? That is what is happening. However, again, they are hurting really badly when it comes to this situation, as CNN is going to go over this bombshell poll showing just how bad this conflict has hurt Joe Biden when it comes to his far left progressive base. Again, individuals that the Democrats should not have gotten in bed with in the first place, but because they decided to, again, this is the result.
What this shows is a bit of the politics surrounding President Biden on the issue of Israel. With us now, CNN senior data reporter Harry Ent. And I thought that was illustrative of what you've been looking at in the data of sort of that President Biden's getting squeezed from both ends here.
He's getting squeezed from both ends. You know, I think it's important to note, let's look at the choice for president in 2024 among Biden's 2020 voters, all right? Because I think this sort of illustrates sort of how Biden's getting pushed a little bit. So if you like Biden on the Israel-Gaza war, look at that. He's getting 87% of the vote. RFK Jr. is getting 8%. Donald Trump way down here at 4%. But if you dislike Biden, if you disapprove of the job he's doing on the Israel-Gaza war, look at this. He's getting just 50% of that vote. My goodness gracious. These are people who voted for him last time. RFK Jr. is getting 20%. This is just a 30-point margin compared to a 79-point margin among those who approve of Biden on the Israel-Gaza war. This is a huge dividing line within the Democratic Party, and that's something, of course, we're seeing right now between the progressive wing and those more centrist or mainstream Democrats.
And as a confession, we're such nerds that occasionally Harry sends me some of this data, and the number that jumped out here, RFK at 20% among people, Democrats who voted for Biden in 2020 and dislike him on the Biden war. I think your next slide points to a little.
Yeah. So when it comes to these numbers, again, this is a big deal. In fact, this is devastating for Joe Biden because you have 50% of the people that say that they dislike Biden when it comes to his stance on this Israel-Gaza war. They're deciding that, hey, you know what? We're going to go for Kennedy, right? We're going to go for RFK. In which, you know, hey, that hurts Biden. That takes away voters from Biden. They go to Kennedy. 10% of them are going to Trump. They don't necessarily need to go to Trump, right? That's the thing people got to understand. The fact that he's losing 50% of those people is a big deal because they're either not going to show up, they're going to vote for RFK, which is fine, right? For Trump, it doesn't really matter. Or they're going to vote for Trump. But what really matters is that half of them are saying that, hey, we're not going to vote for Joe Biden. Again, you know, the Biden administration is just funny because he really is stuck between a rock and a hard place here, but he deserves it. This is what you get when you lay in bed with extremists, right? When you're in bed with radicalized communists, you have to be on board with them 100% or they're not going to support you, right? That's essentially what is happening. Now, again, in 2020, they got the communists to vote against Trump because of Trump derangement. But now, considering how the Biden administration has failed on some of their more progressive promises, and then you have this issue happening right here, they don't have a real reason to vote for Biden, right? This is why he's out here doing things like trying to deschedule marijuana, which is, again, for the progressive vote. He's trying to forgive student loan debt unconstitutionally, which is for the progressive vote. But ultimately, it's not going to matter, right? Because he's very limited on those issues. And it's not going to be enough to sway anything, right? As long as his conflict continues. And here's the real kicker, right? Here's the real kicker. Israel is incentivized to continue this conflict because they know that it's hurting Biden. They know that legislation is being passed on their behalf to basically silence dissent against what they're doing, okay? And the politicians are going along with it, Democrats and Republicans. So they don't have a real incentive not to do what they're doing because they know ultimately at the end of the day, if this causes Biden not to get reelected, then they don't have to deal with Biden anymore, right? They just simply don't have to deal with it, right? And again, for them, there's no reason for them to stop doing what they're doing because everybody knows that what he's doing is a virtue signal to the far left, okay? And the more that he virtue signals to the far left, it makes it look like, oh, well, this guy is pro-Hamas, right? Which hurts Biden when it comes to the so-called democracy talking point that they use against Trump, okay? I mean, it's not a coincidence that these new polls are showing that, hey, voters trust Trump when it comes to this whole democracy conversation more so than Biden. Well, the reason why is because the country is out of control under Joe Biden when it comes to these far left extremists, right? Before they could blame it on Trump when it came to BLM, this is what they did, even though it wasn't Trump's fault. It was actually the far left's fault. It was the Democrat Party's fault why that was happening. But now that that's happening under Biden, people are saying like, oh, wait, when it comes to all this extremism in this country, that wasn't Trump's fault. It's actually Biden's fault. And again, this is why you're seeing Democrats lose ground on, again, these issues that they before were pretty strong on when it comes to this whole democracy talking point propaganda that comes from the mainstream liberal media. after January 6th. Now that's all kind of went away because people realized that, okay, well, this was a false narrative from the media. In fact, all of the backlash against Joe Biden and the fact that this is hurting him is actually more of an incentive for them to continue with their operation, because they say, all right, well, you're not going to stand with us. Hey, well, you just won't be reelected, right? I mean, that's kind of what's happening right now, okay? I mean, that's the problem that Joe Biden has, okay? And I'm not sure if there's any way for him to really get himself out of this situation. I think ultimately at the end of the day, he's going to end up folding, and he's just going to basically say, you know what, it is what it is. And they're just going to try to win without a progressive vote. But I don't think it's going to be possible, right? I really don't think it's going to be possible for them to win.
A little bit of what's going on here.
What exactly is cooking? Why do they dislike Biden on Israel? Okay, America's support for Israel is, now this is among 2020 Biden voters who are currently not voting for him. So it's those dislike, those disapprovals. Take a look here. Do you believe that America's support for Israel is too much? The clear majority, 60% of those folks who are currently not voting for Biden, but did last time around, say that America's support for Israel is too much. Just 24% say about right. You get this 4% who say not enough. But this group is double the size of the about right and not enough combined. And a lot of those folks at this particular point aren't necessarily going for Donald Trump. They're going for RFK.
I got to say that not enough is virtually nothing here. In general, what is Biden's support among those who were with him before?
Yeah. This, I think, is the key point. Biden versus Trump 2024 poll margin. The reason Trump's ahead, he's holding on to more of his base right now. That 2020 voters leading by 81 points. Biden's just holding on, winning among that group by 73 points. That's the story of this election. It's why Trump is in much better position than he was 4 years ago.
These are really
It's amazing how CNN has to use data, right, to explain things I've been explaining to you guys for the longest time, which is that basically, Trump has an amazing advantage in the sense that he actually has a real base. Biden doesn't have a real base, right? Nobody likes Biden because of Biden's policies or because he's an amazing guy or he's super likable or whatever. He doesn't have a real base. His whole 2020 campaign was, well, Trump bad, right? And now, 4 years later, people realize that, okay, well, Trump bad, right, is not going to be enough to get me to vote for this guy because Trump really wasn't bad, okay? Actually, Biden is much worse, okay? Trump was actually great, okay? I hope a lot of people are realizing that Trump was actually great, okay? And, you know, again, that's why I also say that when it comes to voting, I don't think that RFK is going to hurt Trump more than Biden, right? I mean, the Democrats are basically, you know, trying to hold on to hope that, okay, well, RFK is going to take away more votes away from Trump. I don't think it's going to happen. I think RFK has revealed itself to be a full-blown progressive, right? He is a progressive, okay? He just came out and basically said that he doesn't believe in any limits for abortion.
But so in other words, keeping it as is with Roe versus Wade having been overturned and leaving it up to the states to determine if and when a woman can have an abortion?
No, I wouldn't leave it to the states.
You wouldn't, right?
No, I would.
You would say completely. It's up to the woman.
My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved,
even if it's full term.
Even if it's full term.
Okay, and I think
so here you have RFK saying the quiet part out loud that we all knew about Democrats. Again, this guy is a Democrat, right? And he's saying exactly what Democrats believe on the issue of abortion. That hey, he's totally fine with full term. This is why every single time they get pressed on the issue of abortion, they never answer the question. What are the limits? Again, they can't even come out here and say it. They can't give you anything, right? The reason why is because they know they don't believe in any limits, right? RFK is just the only Democrat stupid enough to actually really say it, right? So now he'll probably come out in a couple of weeks and roll that back, right? Once he realizes that, oh, well, this don't help me with Trump supporters, right? He'll roll that back and try to pretend like, you know, we misunderstood what he said. Okay, he came out recently and rolled back his comments when it comes to allowing children to get access to puberty blockers and undergo sex change operations, right? He rolled back his position on that. Now all of a sudden he figured it out, right? He's now saying that, well, before I didn't know, so therefore it should be allowed. I'm not trying to get involved, right? Now he's saying, oh, well, I don't think we should be doing this, okay, because he got backlash for it, right? So I think it's pretty funny to watch RFK try to thread the needle, but he's failing, right, when it comes to doing that. But regardless, he continues to reveal himself to be a far left progressive. And I think, again, that's where Biden's far left progressive voters are going to go. They're going to go to RFK. Okay, and that's okay. They don't have to go to Trump, right? In fact, I would rather not have the far left invade the conservative space, right? I'd rather not have far leftists trying to vote for Trump, because then they'll try to influence Trump and to drag Trump left on issues where he should not be dragged left on. So again, if they go to RFK, that's best case scenario, right? I would love that, right? I really would. But again, Biden is really stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I don't think there's anything that he can do that is not going to hurt him significantly when it comes to this issue of Israel and Gaza, right? This is why, when you have a president like Trump always tries to make deals. He always tries to keep peace, right? And that's what we had under the Trump administration. And I really do think that if Trump was in office, this conflict would not have escalated to this level, because Trump is an expert at keeping peace. In fact, again, we had more peace in the Middle East when Trump was president than we had in a long, long, long time. And, when Biden takes office, all of a sudden that goes away. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence. I just don't think that Biden's good at diplomacy, right? And I think that we're seeing that when it comes to multiple conflicts that have risen up since Biden got elected, whether it be Ukraine. Again, you got Israel and, Gaza situation. Who knows what China may do with Taiwan. I think regardless, right, I think we can all see that world leaders, whether they're our allies or our enemies, they think that Biden's weak, right? They don't listen to anything that Biden says. And it's just embarrassing at this point. It really is. We need competent leadership in this country ASAP. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.